A lot of SNAP benefits people. People that have been getting SNAP and all sorts of different government assistance are not really in need. They're in want. And they really want free stuff. You can see some of them now, they really think that they're entitled, that that they deserve free stuff, and some of them think that taxpayers work for them, like the folks out there hustling and bustling owe them a free living and free food and free housing. Well, they're not really in need. They're just in want. A lot of these people, they're more than able to work. Some of them now, their threats on social media that they're gonna steal from stores or rob people of their groceries when they come out after they paid for them. If they're able to do all that, they're able to work. And but on the flip side of that, it's pretty well known that there's a lot of scamming of the government and stealing and sharing information with people that other people know so they can find out new ways to get free stuff and basically scam the government, which effectively is the taxpayers, and that's you and me. Well, the president that we have now, I'm not sure of his motivation or what he thinks of this. I know he makes little comments, and they take sound bites and try to make them sound like they want them to sound, depending on the news outlet or the TV channel. But I think that the premise that his supporters have is that these folks ought to go get a job. And if they're able-bodied and capable of working, it's logical that they ought to be working. But I'm kind of skeptical about it, and I'll tell you why. Because the labor market is very tight now, and it's hard for people to find work. There has been an extraordinary number of layoffs. Man, I mean, ever since COVID, probably. Thousands and thousands and thousands of employees have been laid off. Huge companies have laid off hundreds and thousands at a time due to lack of demand or financial mismanagement or different reasons behind it. But essentially, those folks lost their job, and a lot of these people, you can see them. These are not, lazy, dim-witted people. A lot of these people that have been looking for work for a long time, they have applied to dozens, and some of them claim hundreds of companies, and they don't get a response, or they tell them no, or whatever. And these people have college degrees, and they have years of experience, and they have the wisdom that hopefully comes with age. They have all of those things that are desirable for an employee, but nonetheless, even with a good resume and contacts and references, they're unable to find employment or suitable employment that was like what they had prior to getting laid off. And all that's in the private sector. And then when the Doge guys came in, which, it looks as though the the big cost savings that everybody thought was so amazing, which may have been, I don't know, but it's largely been undone by government spending since then, such that all the efforts that they were doing is just kind of a blip. But when they cut off the money to USAID, which probably was a large money laundering operation for a lot of NGOs and stuff like that, for political organizations, that's just my opinion. But those employees of those companies, they were working for NGOs or for companies that were for profit, that when the money got cut off from USAID, that organization can no longer employ them because they can't pay them. And if you work, you have to be paid. We outlawed slavery a long time ago. So it's not only the private sector, it's the government employees or those who work for government agencies through an NGO or a company that can't find work. So I think that the Trump people and those that support him, I think their thought process is that these folks ought to be working. But I don't know if there's enough work out there for all those people. In fact, a lot of those people, it's my understanding that they're not even legally allowed to be in this country, and yet they're here. So obviously their hiring potential is reduced as a result. So it's likely that there are simply not enough jobs for the number of people that are receiving these benefits. So I would tell my conservative colleagues, and including myself, I'm a conservative, but I mean, you can't just imagine jobs into existence or gaslight the country into thinking that they're there when they're not. Because the labor market tells a different story than the Trump administration or Fox News. I think it's unrealistic. Okay. Now, if they can find a job, and that's good. I think they should if they're able to, and folks ought to do what they're able to do. In the Bible it says that someone who will not work should not be allowed to eat. And that's from the Bible. So all you SNAP benefit riders that have been riding on the government without putting out, well, what you've been doing is against the Bible, and it's immoral and wrong. Now, that may not bother some people. I don't know. I think a lot of people, they try to justify the things that they do because maybe their stomach's full or they got some advantage that they wanted. So they'll be of the opinion that the ends justify the means. But where I'm going with that is this. If someone is truly in need and they really do need help, and their need is met, they don't think anybody owes them anything, and they are truly grateful to receive whatever it is that someone is willing to part with that they might benefit from in some way. They're truly thankful. They are. And we're in the season of Thanksgiving now. But look at all these people on social media that they don't look thankful at all. They're demanding their SNAP benefits and still in their pajamas and doing nothing. But in the morning time, before you start your day, I'm gonna kind of paint a picture here for you as best I can. In your prayer time, if you say, amongst all the things that you tell the Lord, if you say, Lord, I pray that I could be a blessing to someone today and a good example to someone today. Now, you may not know it, and in this scenario that I'm describing, it may be kind of simplistic to you, but it's a real thing, and I have seen it, and I have been a participant in it. What you don't know is somebody that same day is desperate, and they have literally done all that they can do to correct or fix or remedy the situation that they have found themselves in. And they don't know what to do, and they've called on everybody and everything that they know to do that's within their own power. And they've come up snake eyes, and there ain't nothing come of it. And they don't know what to do, and they're stressed and concerned. And in their prayer time, they plead to the Lord, and they ask the Lord, say, Lord, you see that I'm doing all that I can do. In order for a prayer to be real or to be heard, it has to be sincere, and it has to be honest. It should be heartfelt, coming from deep inside of a person. And if a person is lifting up a prayer such as that, and they are truly doing all that they can do, and they don't know what to do, and they've called on the Lord to help them in some way. And then, in your travels that day, let's say, for example, okay, that the person is on a fixed income, and they're living in an apartment, and they can barely make their rent because they're on Social Security, and they live in an apartment, for example, and the owners of the apartment complex, a strategy that they have employed in recent times, I don't know how far back it goes, but that's to raise the rent on an annual basis. Some of those investors or companies will use a percentage to raise the rent. Some of them will do it a dollar amount, different things like that. And due to the company's desire to grow, and also because they want to make greater profits, as any business would, in this case, this person that is on Social Security and on a fixed income and can barely make it, they literally don't have that other $50 or that other $100. They don't. And without that, they will be evicted. Okay? If after you have offered up this prayer and you meant your prayer and it was real, and they did too, and you didn't know it, but y'all's paths cross, or you become aware of their need, and then you go over there and give them the missing money that they don't have in order for them to literally have a place to live. Now, these are, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there are senior citizens right now of all colors and ethnicities that on a monthly basis, they're literally trying to determine the priorities between electricity, medicine, or rent, or mortgage. They have done cut all they can cut. There ain't no more cutting. They can't. And some of these same people, they've got young family members that are wasteful with money. And because the nature of some of these older people, they don't want to complain and they don't want to be a burden. And if it's a man, a lot of times he feels ashamed really to ask for help, because he's, seen himself as a provider for most of his life. So there's a humility that's there as well too when they ask for help. And I mean truly ask for help. But let's say that you meet up with them and you help them out in that way. And they had no idea that you were going to do that, and they didn't ask you. Do you understand that? They didn't ask you to do that. They asked the Lord, and they didn't even know about you. But you can see in that scenario that the Lord heard your prayer, and the Lord heard their prayer too. So everybody can high five and say, well, we did a good thing. Somebody was having trouble and we helped them out. Let's do a big high five and get out of here. But it goes on from there. And this is the part that most people don't think about, and they likely never see. If this person that called on the Lord is living right before the Lord, and that's why he heard their prayer. Maybe they're not perfect, but the Lord is hearing them. And he heard them that day. Then later, when they go to offer their prayers again, they may pray for you. And if he heard their prayers before, and now they're praying for you, what do you think the result of that will be? These people I'm talking about are not in want. They're in need, real need. And, in recent times, they've said, well, call on the food banks and the churches. But I think a lot of these churches, their food banks are pretty slim, because they're worried about building a new building or some new extracurricular thing for the teenagers to do or something like that, at a time when people are in terrible need. And so I would suggest to you as a person to be wary of someone that comes and asks for things, and to not hear them too much. And I don't mean to be stingy. I don't mean that. I just to be discerning and hear them and try to feel out what it is that's going on, and be responsible with the resources that the Lord has allowed you to have and to steward. And in your private time, in your prayer time, ask him if you can be a blessing, if you can be a help to someone who's truly in need. And then have an ear to hear when he tells you, or eyes to see that which he wants you to see. And then apply that. So I want you to see a cycle of blessing. One person asked to be a blessing. Another person asked to have help, to be blessed with help. And then later, the blessing happens. And then later, the one who was blessed asked for a blessing for the other person. These things are done privately. I believe this is how the Lord works. We need to hear that. But anyway, I hope you're doing well, and I hope this day finds you in good spirits and good health. And listen to these people and what they say, not their words now. You can see them. You can see them on social media. You can see them in person. You can see them at church. But listen to them and see, are they in need or are they in want? Because that's two different things. Hope you're doing well, and we'll see you next time.